You're listening to SaskScapes, a podcast featuring the stories of arts, culture, and heritage in Saskatchewan. In Saskatchewan, we're known for the amazing light displays of the aurora borealis. We're also home to part of the massive boreal forest, considered Canada's largest intact forest on Earth. Well, we can now add to the list the Borealis Music Festival, which made an impressive debut in Prince Albert in 2015. I'm Kevin Power. You've heard the expression, go big or go home, right? Well, that's exactly what the city of Prince Albert did. They went big. And when folks went home after the 3-day event, I'm willing to bet many of them were already marking their calendars for next year's festival. This is the first podcast in a 2-part series recorded on the grounds of the festival. I'll be talking with Jayne Remenda, Prince Albert's Economic Development Manager, Abraham Lancaster, who I've decided to call the festival superhero who made this festival fly, and 2 of the many tireless volunteers without whom this festival would not have run so smoothly. And when you're done listening to this episode, don't forget to head over to episode 55, where I pick up the conversation with several of the festival's performers. Well, now here I am at the first Borealis Festival in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. And with me is my first guest, who is probably a pretty good first guest to have because you're largely responsible for dreaming this baby up. And you would be?
I'm Jayne Remenda.
Jayne, so you're the economic developer for the city of Prince Albert?
That's correct. Yeah, just recently in that position, I did come from tourism, and that's where this whole concept was originally birthed.
Right. So tell me, did you have a dream one night and you dreamt there was a festival in Kinsman Park and or how did it happen?
You know, this morning I was trying to think how it was originally conceived, and I think it was just discussions with folks involved with tourism, talking about wanting to do something large, big enough that would attract visitors from outside the community, and we bounced around a few ideas, and I suggested possibly a music festival, and took about 2 years to do the research and write the business plan and prepare for it, and really an amazing team of folks, paid and unpaid, that have made this whole dream come to fruition.
Had there been a music festival here before?
Not of this magnitude, for sure. And you know, little known fact, we have some of the province's best performers come out of this community, and we sort of birth them here and launch them off into bigger and better, and then we don't really take ownership of them. And so we're really hoping that we'll shed a little light to the fact that we have great artists that come right out of here, as well as it's a great community to come and visit and perform at, because we're super at hospitality. Some amazing recording studios here that a lot of performers like to come because of the solitude and the proximity to the lakeland. And so, yeah, music, arts are our thing.
Right. So what's been the biggest challenge? I mean, I figure people are listening who think, I think we need a music festival in our town. What would you say is the biggest challenge in trying to launch something like this?
You know, I think for the most part, everything went really smoothly because it was planned really well. And we had super good people in place. Honestly, the biggest challenge was getting early buy-in and understanding for how big we intended this to be. And then when people started to realize how big we wanted to go, not a whole lot of faith that we could pull it off. So this last week has been very surreal to see it come together and prove to the community that we can do this with a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, a lot of support, and it can be done.
So originally it was not the Borealis Festival. You'd sort of tossed around the idea of some kind of a folk festival name.
Very original concept was a blues festival, and we were looking at like wild bluesberry as a theme, kind of picking up on the blueberries that we grow in this area and looking at having blueberry and wild rice, local food, and sticking to the blues theme. Then we came in contact with a lot of folks that have had a lot of experience with this, and certainly the people in Saskatoon with the Jazz Fest and that sort of stuff. And we were really encouraged not to tie ourselves to one specific genre. So through the research, we looked at maybe what wasn't happening in the vicinity, like within the neighboring provinces also. Right. And we really decided we wanted to go eclectic, international, little bit of everything, something that would appeal to a broad audience. And we also really wanted to avoid kind of the top 40 very popular music and wanted to find up-and-coming artists that were just starting to tour and give them that additional boost.
So Borealis after the boreal forest or the aurora borealis, or both?
You know, we hired Odelay out of Saskatoon to help us with the branding, and they clearly understood that we wanted this festival to not only be about the music festival, but about rebranding our community. And so we talked about the fact that we're sitting on the world's largest deposit of diamond-bearing kimberlite, which is a little-known fact, but it's huge. Wow. And then the forest and things that are common to us. And that's where they came up with, you know, the northern lights are fantastic and very visible from here. The diamonds, and then the boreal forest, and so they came together with the whole concept of sort of the gem-shaped trees and the borealis. So that's kind of how it took off.
How many local bands did you decide to go with?
Good question. So there's 15 touring headlining acts that aren't local per se as in Prince Albert, although some of the performers did originate here. But there are local Saskatchewan and regional performers on the main stage. Dead South, for example, you know, amazing Saskatchewan band from Regina. The free stage is mainly local and regional, and so if we have probably half and half, I think there's 15 main stage and around 15 on the free stage.
Your headliners are coming from as far away as Ireland. Yeah. So did they hear about you, or did you hear about them?
I think we heard about them. Again, we didn't go through a booking agent to book the festival. We strategically chose artists that we felt were going to give us that eclectic feel. And again, we wanted to go very international, whether it was actually physically bands coming from other countries or whether we were looking at a very culturally diverse performance. So we were looking at some French Acadian type music at one point, and obviously First Nations performers. And I really think one of our coordinator and one of our staff and a couple of committee members were really big fans of I Draw Slow, and so we listened to them. We thought, yeah, if we can get them to come, that would be amazing.
And they were quite willing?
They were really, in fact, out of all of the challenges with booking, they were one of the quickest to respond and commit. So we were.
Did they say where's Saskatchewan?
I think they might have. I didn't have that conversation. Abe would have, okay, but I'm thinking they might have had to go search on a map to see where we were at.
Speaking of Abe, how key has he been to helping you out with all of this?
Helping. He has been the festival. I may have come up with the idea and done some of the background, but if it wasn't for that young man, this would not have happened. He's really...
Wow.
He's really put his all in it, took a lot of risks as a young man, definitely mature beyond his years.
He probably won't tell me. What would you say is one of the risks that he would have taken?
Just to take on this position as a paid position, okay, knowing that it could be temporary. Its main sponsorship might not have come through, and he may have put in 3 or 4 months' effort and then been without a job. I think there was at a point, as any event organizer knows, where it's kind of that sink or swim, and you need to make that call. Are we going to continue or not? We definitely went through a couple of those hurdles, and he indicated he was here for the long haul, paid or not. He was sticking it through to the end. So, and he's been here, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I'm looking for his tent because I figure he probably just camped out here. Yeah. Your advertising budget has been hugely impressive. Just from being in Saskatoon, it's on media constantly.
Well, we knew this being new, and we understood, and we were criticized a bit for jumping too far ahead and needing to grow it at a grassroots level. But we knew that if we wanted this to be at the level we needed it to be, we needed to get the word out farther reaching than just within our regular catchment area. So we did spend quite a bit of money on advertising out of market in hopes that we would attract folks from Regina, Saskatoon, northern Alberta. And we have a large demographic of people that live here and work in the Fort Mac area and travel back and forth. So we hope to kind of catch on that. And then the August long weekend, typically, us as a community, we don't do anything because we assume everybody's going to the lake. So we looked at the lake population tripling in size on this weekend and realizing that was a market that we could draw from and call people back to the city. Hence the busing, which was Abe's idea to provide very
the busing is from campsites and
from four of the major bars in the Lakeland area, and then we'll have those patrons back to those venues for their last set if they have live performers too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Actually, my son's performing up at Christopher Lake this weekend, and I feel a little guilty because I have a bus going to his venue bringing people here, but I promised him we'll take them all back for his last set. So.
Okay, all right. Any shout-outs you want to give to people who have been major financial sponsors to this endeavor?
Absolutely. I mean, and anybody that knows Prince Albert knows Malcolm Jenkins. And another not just the financial support, but that man has gone above and beyond with promoting the event and supporting it and encouraging us and encouraging the community that this is something that needs to happen. And, of course, another phenomenal business person in the community, Gord Broda, who doesn't want a whole lot of credit, but he did back us financially and emotionally. And those are just two off the top of my head. But, yeah.
Well, I hope I run into you sort of throughout the weekend because I'd like to find out how you're feeling as the festival goes. I expect your energy level is going to just skyrocket with just the enthusiasm of finally seeing it come to life.
And then sleep for a week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Abe Lancaster, how the hell is it going? Are you holding up?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
I'm doing good. Feels good.
So let's back up a little bit because I know your story, but how did you get wrangled into this beast, which is now the first ever Borealis Festival?
Well, that's a really good question. I guess I heard about this event amongst people in town here and immediately got excited that there was even talk of a music festival, initially to be a blues festival. So, I was really excited about that as a musician myself in the community. I'm very active as a musician in the community. And, it had been my intention to get involved as soon as I had heard about it, right? And in fact, my band was playing at the casino here that night, and Jayne Remenda, who was the CEO of tourism at the time, who had the brainchild of this whole thing, she was at our show, and she's the one who told me, said, keep it under wraps that we're organizing a major music festival. Nothing small like PA is used to. We're going big, or we're going home, basically. And so that was the first I had heard about this music festival. And so a few months had gone by, and at that time I had just recently started a promotions company called Abro Promotions. And so what I was doing was working with relatively unknown bands in Prince Albertan area on creative development, bookings, management, social media information, all that kind of stuff. Just with the intent to try and give performers in this area a lift up, a leg up in their success level, right? And because there's nothing like that. There's no record labels up here. There's no booking agencies. There's no, management or touring companies and stuff like that. So there's a real lack of direction. I saw that there was a real lack of direction in the arts, or the musician and band category of culture in this community. And so I went and put together a company, again, called Abro Promotions, and just started working with some bands doing just that. And I did that for about 8 months.
And your wisdom was all based on your experience with your own band?
Yeah, as being an independent group, as in our own right, Almighty Voice has generated some pretty satisfactory success, right, for us as musicians. And I felt that I could just share the formula that we had put together for being a band that is, if I may say, somewhat isolated from the rest of the mainstream Canadian circuit, similar to somewhere like Brandon, Manitoba, right, or Fort McMurray or stuff like that. The places that are big enough to be able to do these kinds of things, but maybe just aren't doing it, right? And so I just wanted to share what worked for us with other bands. And obviously these people are some friends that, as a tight-knit musical community, I think lots of people know each other, right? Pretty much everybody knows who's who. And so in doing that, it didn't make me very much money, but it made me it made me happy to know that I was doing this by means of being involved in the music industry. As a musician, my goal is not to make millions and millions of dollars and garner just tons of fame.
That's good.
It's simply to be happy and to be healthy and to be able to say, that my life is, that I make a living in the music industry, whether that means playing or booking or any kind of aspect of that. So that's been my motto from day one in being involved in music. So when the idea came up about this music festival, I obviously, like I said, wanted to get involved right off the hop. I would have done it regardless. I would have just done exactly what they asked me to do. But in fact, what they asked me to do was to apply for the event coordinator position for the festival. So Jayne had put together a business plan and a budget, and had chosen a venue and a rough sketched in idea of what the artist should look like. And so I talked with her a little bit and kind of thought about it for a little while to see, because it's a huge undertaking. At 22 years old, I was 21 at the time, I wasn't sure if I was ready to take this on, and I hadn't had any huge success with any artists or anything like that, right? I hadn't had any of the bands that I was doing bookings for making, tons of money or anything like that, so I was a little bit hesitant at first, but after talking to a few people about it, I could see the excitement in people's faces when I said, this is happening, they're going to do a music festival in PA. And the response was just, electric, really, from friends and family and to just regular people that I'd never met before. I would hear them just rumors, basically, of a music festival. And I just thought that was crazy. Once I got a good idea once I saw the vision, I guess, of what Jayne was seeing, once I understood the opportunity of having it on the long weekend, how it fits perfectly into the festival circuit within Saskatchewan, as being, they have the Jazz Festival in Saskatoon, they have Ness Creek, then they have Gateway, then there's a long weekend in the middle, and then there's Regina Folk Festival. So what a better place to put a music festival than on a long weekend when everybody's traveling right up to the lake. They're driving right past the festival. What a better opportunity than to put it there and make it available to them.
Yeah.
Not with the expectation that everybody goes, but that it's available, and it enriches that culture and that community. It enriches our community by means of arts and culture and tourism, right?
Yeah.
So, it's really a win-win. I could see that it was a win-win situation regardless of success or failure for the community, because the response had been that there's a dire need for it, right? That we've had nothing like that. So I think that really just kind of tipped the scales for me, that and I needed to make money. So
right. So they hired you.
So they hired me.
Hey, it's Kevin. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Just a quick reminder that the SaskScapes podcast is available for free on your favorite podcast app, or you can stream it from your browser. Check out the show notes for the link. On the SaskScapes homepage, you'll notice something new under the logo called SaskScapes Plus. You can't miss it. There's a big button saying support with a heart icon next to it. I'd love it if you could click on that button and help keep this podcast series going. When SaskScapes launched in May 2014, it was the first podcast in the province celebrating arts, culture, and heritage. In fact, you'd have been pretty hard-pressed to find any Saskatchewan podcasts. So I'd like to think that we paved the way. It's been because of your support that this podcast is now in its 9th year. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Okay, now you're only human, you're only flesh and blood. At what point in the first few weeks did you say, OMG, what have I gotten myself into?
I don't think I had an oh my gosh moment until I started realizing how difficult it was going to be to solidify our sponsorship end of things. I knew we would be all right in the artist department, because there's such a plethora of artists that are constantly touring throughout the summer, and it's just a matter of figuring out the routing options. That to me was easy to wrap my brain around. What was really hard for me to wrap my brain around was a lack of response from the corporations that we solicited for sponsorship, because obviously this stuff doesn't happen without finances rolling through, right? And to make it of a desired quality, to fit within the mandate of tourism, of drawing people from outside markets, it really has to be of a large enough scale and quality to attract those people, right? And that's not cheap. So when I started looking into corporate sponsorship, I put together a huge list of 300 major corporations, most of those in Saskatchewan, that would benefit from having some community investment and in turn receiving some recognition, right? And in the first 4 or 5 months, I had received probably close to 200 declines, and that was a big eye opener for me. That said, okay, this isn't going to be as easy as it sounds. It's easier said than done, for sure. And as one person at that time, that's kind of when I started to think, okay, maybe I need to start getting a committee together, a volunteer committee, finding those people that I've made those connections with already, and get them excited, get them riled up about doing this, and help them see the value in doing this for the community, and helping them see the benefit, the long-term vision of what this does for for them as people, but also the bigger scale of community and province and all that kind of stuff, enrichment. So that was a big OMG moment for me, was realizing that the finances were not going to be as easy to attain as we had forethought, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you had to convince people to see the same vision, right?
Absolutely. And when it hasn't happened,
right,
it's hard to convince people.
Right.
I mean, people want to know how many people we're going to have.
Yeah.
And at that point, I can't say that. I have no idea. I can tell them how many people we can fit in here.
Yeah.
And I know that number, but that doesn't equate to how many people we actually get through the gates.
Yeah.
And so that was a major hurdle. We went along with for quite a while, running on basically the funding of 5 sponsors that wasn't that we were totally grateful for at the time, because I mean, we would have given up long ago if they had not contributed at that point. But it was really difficult to run it on bare bones and continue moving forward, knowing that there was the potential for it to fall apart. You know, if we didn't get any more money, then we have to pay back our sponsors. And you know, we run under the umbrella of tourism as a not-for-profit organization.
Right.
So we wanted it to be successful, but we didn't want to bankrupt the organization at the same time, right? So I don't know. That's kind of when the committee came in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you've been in the planning stage of this for how long? From the time you signed on until yesterday. Yeah. What's the time frame?
I think that's 10 months, 10 or 11 months of planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was the launch yesterday for you? I mean, I'm watching you just like a whirling dervish around these grounds, and your phone is ringing every 5 seconds. And if it's not your phone, it's your walkie-talkie, and you are needed more than my brain can wrap itself around. Do you just want to scream sometimes? I mean, everybody's calling Abe for something. Ask Abe, ask Abe, ask Abe.
Yeah. I mean, I find it, I heard it last night that somebody said, "Great festival, Abe." And it's not me. I have a hard time taking credit for this because of the amount of effort and people that are involved in getting it off the ground. And I mean, there's no ego involved in it. Right. There's no ego involved in it at all. So I have a hard time to take, full responsibility or credit for it, because I think it needs to be shared amongst everybody. So what I feel is that I'm just doing my part. I'm doing my part, which I'll say is a very fundamental part, but I think that it's because I care so much about this. Mm-hmm. And I mean, ego aside, I feel that it's not important for me on a personal level for this to go off, but for
yeah, but it looks great on the resume.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless it fails,
Well, what's the feedback so far? What are you hearing from people who are attending and people who are hearing about it just now? Although I don't know what rock they were living under if they're only hearing about it now, because your advertising campaign's been off the charts, crazy.
Yeah,
just really good.
I think the response has been from the people that were here last night. Obviously, everybody has a critique on improvements. But I don't take those as negative things. I take those as positive spins on an improvement to make. So apart from improvements to the festival, there hasn't been any negative feedback from any of the attendees. I think the whole idea of making this go over successfully, in my eyes, is making sure that our patrons our volunteers, our vendors, and our artists are all enjoying themselves. And the motto of my weekend is that there's no issue that we can't overcome. There's nothing that we can't overcome at this point. There's no problem too big that we can't solve and get over. And so for me, that's how I just keep a level head. I mean, it's high stress, but if I let myself get unraveled, it'll poison everybody around me and in turn make my life more difficult, right? So I see that, and I mean, kind of just taking it one day at a time and realizing that we are not, the first year is not going to be perfect, but it's damn good.
It's hugely impressive for a first year. I mean, you could have just done small scale and done a stage the size of the free stage and made that your main stage and said, there, next year we'll grow a little bit more. But you've just bitten off the whole enchilada right off the top.
Yeah. I think I don't think people understood what we were doing until they saw what it was.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see what corporate sponsors you could get now that you can see the vision, right?
Exactly it.
Right.
That's precisely what it is that, I mean, first of all, to fit within the mandate of tourism and to make it that we could do something small. That's easy. That's really easy. You could rile up 200 people for a show at the amphitheater, no problem. But are people, because it falls under the branch of tourism, is it drawing people from Calgary, Edmonton, Regina, Saskatoon, Winnipeg? Those are the people that we want to come here and experience this. As well, the community, obviously. The impact on the community is beyond measure, for sure. But yeah, I think that the scale that it's at it sets the bar. It sets the bar for everything else, future years.
It's too hard to tell numbers right now, but what's your sense, just sort of taking a bird's eye look at the number of people on the ground here?
Well, I think last night we were somewhere between 300 and 500 people throughout the night. Our ticket sales to that point were at less than 80 ticket sales. The night before this festival, we had 80 pre-sold tickets. And the week before, we were in a scramble because in order to, this was happening regardless. This is going forward. 2 weeks ago, I sat down and I said, this is moving forward. This is where we're at with ticket sales. Finances aside, how do we, the main game of this weekend is making sure all those people are happy, right? How do we make those people happy? For the artist, it's making sure they have an audience. And so we put together a package of different corporate sponsor packages for day passes just to get bums in seats. And so yesterday, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but we tripled our ticket sales yesterday alone at the event. Before, we had sold 3 times as many tickets than we had sold the day before the event. And that to me is just, it's mind-boggling. Really it is. And we had people lining up at the gate at 4:30 waiting with their lawn chair, expecting to have to fight for a seat, which to me is just, I have the utmost gratitude for those people because those are the people that really make this happen.
Well, that's going to translate into tonight too, because word of mouth is going to get around it.
Man, and the sound check that these guys had, it sounded great.
I mean, people are crazy to miss out on this if for no other reason than the lineup. I mean, that's a hugely ambitious lineup that you've taken on. And has it been relatively easy booking all these guys and dealing with them? I mean, there's artists and they're all coming for a first time out festival. Have you had to tell people to check their egos at the door, or has it been pretty positive?
Well, I think that we want to be as hospitable as possible to them and really cater to them. So on a performer level, yeah, for sure. The performers have been super accommodating with everything, knowing that it's a first year festival and still having the faith in it to proceed and commit to it. Especially at the caliber that some of the bands are at, is really, I think it's a good reflection of the music scene in Canada, for sure, that they trust each other, that they support each other across the country, coast to coast kind of thing, because that's what we have. We have bands from as far as Halifax east and as far west as Vancouver. So I mean,
and then there's Ireland.
There's Ireland, all in its own little island,
right, slightly east of here,
just across the pond.
Yeah. So here's the most important question of all. This comes down Sunday evening at what? 11? Okay, where are you at 9 a.m. on Monday morning?
9 a.m. I'm here picking up garbage.
Are you?
I'm here picking up garbage, solidifying that everything is good at the venue.
And then at what point, once all the pennies are counted and the last pieces of paper get filed, at what point do you kind of turn your brain off and go do something for yourself? Well, although this is something for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't planned to stop. I have a feeling this doesn't stop for me for a couple weeks after the event.
Right.
Calculating all the numbers and filing all the papers and making sure that everything is settled up. Then I'll probably take a little bit of a break and just play some music for myself.
Yeah.
I play drums in a band that's playing
Almighty Voice.
I play upright bass for Almighty Voice,
right,
who's doing an after party on Sunday, and I play drums in a band called Rose that's on the workshop stage on Sunday afternoon. No, Almighty Voice was a warrior from the One Arrow First Nation by Duck Lake.
Oh yeah.
And he was going to be married to a woman, and he stole a cow from the area, and the Northwest Mounted Police chased after him and he developed a militia of people, and they chased him for an extensive period of time and eventually cornered him in a bluff and brought up cannons from Regina, blasted him out of the bush with cannons. And the story that I heard is that he was running low on bullets, and they were firing cannons into the bush, and they hadn't. They started moving in, and he wanted to let them know that he was still alive, and so he shot a crow out of the sky just to let them know, I'm running low on bullets, but I'm not giving up yet. And so, as Almighty Voice goes, that's kind of our morale, is never give up, and always strive for what you believe in and continue doing what you believe in. Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, hats off to the entire committee that's put this together. It's extremely impressive.
Totally.
And you'll have a second year.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
I hope so.
And I hope you're not totally fried so that they can bring you back.
Yeah.
I already know you're thinking about who you're going to book next year.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
It's all about the vision.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. Did you know that all episodes of SaskScapes can be downloaded or streamed for free? You can find us in the iTunes Store, on Stitcher Radio, and at iHeartCulture.ca. And I'm so excited to announce that SaskScapes now has its own app for both Apple and Android devices. Head over to the App Store or Google Play and have SaskScapes at your fingertips with just one easy tap. Remember, we love hearing from you with your feedback in the review section. And now, back to the podcast. Okay, so I'm in a very important place right now. I'm in the hospitality suite, otherwise a very fancy schmancy trailer. This is backstage, so this place is going to be hopping in about 2 hours from now. And I have a couple of volunteers with me who are holding down the fort, and they're going to be here the whole weekend, and I expect they're fairly key players in the hospitality part of things. And my first guest is...
Tracy Fair.
And Tracy, this is the first festival, so this is your first time volunteering for the festival?
Absolutely, yeah.
But is this your first time volunteering for an activity of this size in Prince Albert?
Of this size, absolutely. We don't see this. This doesn't happen in PA up to this point, so yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How's the feeling for the local PA resident on the street, the vibe around this festival?
So it really depends on who you're speaking with. Some people are really excited as in our house. We are just vibrating, but this is really our thing. Other people are uncertain about, how it's going to go. Is it, going to make enough money? Is it the right fit for us? It's just uncertain. So depending on who you are and what your interest levels are, determines, the feeling people are giving you.
When did you start your role as volunteer?
So I'm just getting into it. I volunteered for the festival, put my name in, said, I'd be happy to do that. But only in the last couple of weeks have I received any information. So I'm really, really, really green to the team. Yeah.
And basically your role as hospitality is going to be looking after the artists?
Yes, that's what I understand.
Expect any divas?
Yeah, kinda. I guess we'll see. Abe today said, well, if it gets ridiculous, I said, like, asking for red M&Ms. He said, yeah, we're not supplying red M&Ms.
Right.
I think that's on some big band did that to make sure that they could get all the details done, right?
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's all about the riders.
It's all about the riders, yeah. So,
okay, when you're not volunteering for first time out music festivals, what do you do in Prince Albert?
Like in my real life?
Yeah, in your real life.
In my real life, I own a small company called Fair Financial, so I'm a financial planner or financial advisor. And I have daughters, and so I'm a mom, and I have a husband who works hard, and so I'm a wife, and I volunteer in our community for other things, sit on boards, just the regular life stuff.
So as a financial advisor, do you have any sort of thoughts, or have you been privy to any of the information about how financially this has come together? Or do you have any thoughts about how financially viable a festival of this scale can be for a town on the whole?
Yeah, so there are lots of smaller communities than us who hold great big festivals, and I'm sure that they wouldn't be in their 20th, 30th year if they weren't financially viable. All great non-profits like this and events like this, it takes some time to get them going. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not making money this year. I don't know that, but it wouldn't surprise me because it takes some time to get going. And that going into something, that if we get even close to breaking even, in my past life I ran fundraising events, not on this scale by a long shot, but the first year, yeah, if you could get some people to come and then get people to talk about it, it's gonna do it. What it's gonna do this year, but it's gonna do way more next year and way make up for it. Right. And when we're in our our 15th year and our 10th year and we're making money, yeah, then that's hopefully won't take that long, of course. But I mean, word gets around and already the hotels are full, so people are coming, and things are happening. So. Yeah, I think PA is absolutely in the right position to be able to do this. We are just we're at our next phase. We're a small community, but we're ready to get big. We're ready to grow, and I think this is the beginning.
Why is volunteerism so important to you? You seem to really latch onto it.
Yeah, I do. Because volunteering and being a part of a community makes that community. So PA is notorious for being a great supporting community. We get behind stuff, we raise tons of money, we build great big facilities, that's what we do. And so I think that it's people who want to make their community better and spend their time and energy and their money giving to their community to make it better. That's what it's all about. Places don't grow without that group of people who is absolutely committed to saying, I don't get the feel goods and all that stuff, but that's it. And then we get to reap the benefits of having this community that's vibrant and active and supportive of the arts and bring people in, and people talk about PA as this great place to have an arts festival and how wonderful that's going to be.
Are you originally from PA?
I am. I grew up here and then moved to Alberta in the 80s scoop.
Yeah.
When we all moved to Alberta, we all had to go because there wasn't enough jobs. And so spent 10 years-ish there doing education and university and stuff. And then we came back. We chose to come back in the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
And happy to be back?
At the time I wasn't. At the time it wasn't what I had anticipated doing. And it was a bit of a pill to swallow. And then, then you make friends and you have a community and you have some kids and grandparents live here, and then you get good jobs and you buy a house and you've got this great community that you think, well, now I don't want to go anywhere. So we came back here because there was a job, and we stayed because we liked it. And so now we've been here for more than 20 years, back by choice. And are glad we're back. And I'm really excited to see this new phase happen for PA.
Right.
Because this couldn't have happened 20 years ago. It couldn't have. We didn't have the support. We didn't have the community based. We just didn't have the mindset to be able to pull it off. And now we've got some really great people in the right positions, and they're all over it. And we can do it.
Did you know Abraham before you started this?
Only as a member of the Goats, I think. And maybe he was in Almighty Voice. And I did not know him personally. I've only seen him on the stage performing with his bass because he's so awesome to watch. Yeah. And when they said that he was the guy, I thought, well, of course he's the guy. Who else would it be? Yeah.
But you haven't had much of a chance to work with him yet, huh?
No, I haven't. And I didn't doubt him for a second. I knew he was the right guy. Yeah. Because who else would it be?
Right on. Well, I'm going to be back here often, so I'm going to check in with you as things continue to see if your eyes are still as bright as they are now, and if you've become jaded by any diva artist.
That or starstruck. I'm not sure which one it's going to be.
Yeah, or starstruck. Yeah, so start collecting stories for me of stuff that's happened backstage.
Okay.
And now, over here, also part of the hospitality is...
Janet Lawsett.
When did you come on board?
Just in the last 3 weeks, actually. Okay. Yep. Just signed on as a volunteer, and applied for a few different places, and then I know Abraham, so I think he just decided that I would do well here. So here I am in hospitality, and we'll see.
You originally from PA as well?
Grew up in England, but I've been in PA for almost 30 years now. So.
Have you done volunteer work for other organizations in PA before?
Off and on, different small things. Like, so at the hospital, I volunteered at the hospital several years ago. And just, various little things, lots of things in school, with my children being in school or when they were in school. My daughter is on the organizing committee, and she's in charge of vendors and things. So I've been helping her a little bit with that, but just gearing up for being here for the weekend.
What are you most looking forward to?
Listening to the music. Just being outside. There is nothing like an outside music festival. Music sounds so much different, more different when it's outside. And I just love the atmosphere that outdoor music festivals give. And for the size that this festival is shaping up to be, and in Prince Albert, it's a big thing. This is big, and so I'm happy to be part of it.
Are you manning this place like the whole festival, or are they going to give you any time away?
There's 2 different shifts.
Okay.
So today we're on this first shift now, and then there'll be an evening shift, and then tomorrow there'll be the same shifts every day, basically a 2 till 6:30 or something shift, and then a 6:30 to the end, 11:30. Yeah.
I expect there'll be champagne back here by Sunday evening.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Not for the artists, for you guys. You mentioned that you knew Abraham already. How did you know him? Oh, you mentioned how you did.
My daughter went to school with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we have 4 children, and they're all in music in one way or another, and so they've sort of grown up, in and around the music scene, and even if it's just with, Abraham would come over to the house and they would jam together.
So do you think he's the right candidate to
Absolutely,
be with? Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
What gives him that quality?
He has Abraham has a heart for local music and local artists for sure, but local, keeping local. You know, he's always believed that you don't need to go away, you don't need to go afar in order to do the thing that you really love to do. You can do it here, and I think this is, I mean, yes, we're having other artists coming in to visit, but this is testimony, I think, to what he actually really believes deep down, that it is important to keep giving back to your city and giving back to community, and I think he's just perfect for this job.
Right on. Well, we'll talk to you again over the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. The SaskScapes podcast is created and hosted by Kevin Power for Sask Culture. Funding to the cultural sector is provided through the Saskatchewan Lotteries Trust Fund for Sport, Culture and Recreation. For more information, visit iheartculture.ca and saskculture.ca. Music for SaskScapes is provided by Saskatchewan-born singer-songwriter Jeffrey Straker. There's no end to the stories to be told. So, until next time...